I can't think of anyone more insane who is in Congress, and that's really saying something, than the Q bitch from right here in Georgia. I'm referring to the disgusting Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the latest reason for this, my feeling, is an interview she gave on a conservative, i.e. Christian fascist podcast this week, where the Q bitch compared Nancy Pelosi's decision to continue to require members of the House to wear masks on the chamber floor to steps the Nazis took to control the Jewish population during the Holocaust. No, you heard me right. Marjorie Taylor Greene compares Pelosi's mandate that House members continue to wear the mask on the House floor. Marjorie Taylor Greene compares that to Hitler's extermination of the Jews. This bitch is out of her mind. Now, where was she when she made this ridiculous statement? She was in a conversation with, this figures, the Christian Broadcasting Network's David Brody and his show, Real America's Voice TV show, called The Water Cooler. During that broadcast, she attacked Pelosi and accused the speaker of being a hypocrite for asking Republican members of the House to prove they've all been vaccinated before allowing members to be in the House chamber without a mask. Oh my God, that is so Hitlerian, isn't it? I mean, it's just awful, awful, awful. This is what the Q bitch said, quote, "You know, we can look back at a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star. And they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much so that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about." End quote. The Q bitch from right here in Georgia. Now, as you can imagine, Jewish groups were quick to condemn this kind of vomit coming out of the Q bitch's mouth. In a tweet from the American Jewish Congress in response to the Q bitch's comments, this, quote, "You can never compare health-related restrictions with yellow stars, gas chambers, and other Nazi atrocities. Such comparisons demean the Holocaust and contaminate American political speech. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene must immediately retract and apologize." End quote. Well, American Jewish Congress, trust me on this one. Don't hold your breath waiting for the Q bitch to retract or apologize. That's not what she does. She is psychotic. Now, CNN, on hearing what the Q bitch said, they conducted a survey of members of Congress. Here's what they discovered. Every Democrat in Congress, both houses, are fully vaccinated. Do you hear that? Fully vaccinated. Every House member, every senator who are members of the Democratic Party and the 2 or 3 independents, totally vaccinated. In the Senate, 92% of Republicans say they're totally vaccinated, but over in the House, only 44% of the Christian fascists would say if they have received the necessary vaccinations. And that works out to about 100 Republicans in the House still won't disclose their vaccine status, which means, very simply, let's not mince words, that they haven't gotten the full vaccination if they've gotten any of it. They don't dare, because if they did, Trump would primary them, right? So that's what prompted Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, to leave the mask mandate in place, even though there's new guidance from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control that said vaccinated people can safely be indoors without wearing masks. Pelosi said this, quote, "We have a responsibility to make sure that the House of Representatives chamber is not a petri dish because of the selfishness of some not to be vaccinated." Well, the of some, as we know, constitutes the Christian fascists. They're just not going to do it. And the Q bitch, who has refused to disclose her status with the vaccine, said that Nancy Pelosi's heavy hand is unnecessary. The Q bitch said this on that podcast, quote, "This is a woman that doesn't care about people's safety. This is a woman that is hyper-focused on her own power and control." I wish she could understand correct grammatical sentence structure or how to identify somebody in a sentence. A person is not a that. A person is a who, but never mind. Now, Nancy Pelosi's office more or less declined to comment on the Q bitch's remarks. However, lawmakers on both sides of the line of demarcation between the Christian fascists and the not between the Christian fascists, but between the Republicans, the few remaining, and the Democrats, reacted to the Q bitch's comments Saturday. Liz Cheney tweeted about the Q bitch's comments, quote, "This is evil lunacy," and end quote. And she said that the current direction of the Republican Party, of course, is her word, dangerous. Well, no, I think it's suicidal, Liz. And for his part, Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, who is a very fierce critic of the orange vomit within the remaining shreds of the Republican Party, and who has previously spoken out against the Q bitch's comments about anything, he tweeted, quote, "Absolute sickness," end quote. And Democratic Representatives Bill Pascrell of New Jersey, David Cicilline of Rhode Island, these two representatives tweeted their criticism of Green's remarks. Pascrell tweeted, quote, "As anti-Semitic violence rises, it is disgusting that a Republican member of Congress is comparing mask requirements to the Holocaust," end quote. And Cicilline called the Q bitch, quote, "a troubled person who is unfit to serve in Congress." Is so sick and so twisted and so psychotic. And any program, television, radio, podcast, whatever, that would interview the Q bitch with the point of legitimizing the garbage that flows out of her mouth is equally guilty in the destruction of this country. And what I think you're going to find, you will never find the Q bitch being interviewed by anyone other than a Christian fascist. A Christian, a follower of the rabbi from Nazareth, would not interview her, would have nothing to do with her. A Jew would have nothing to do with her. A Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, an atheist, a progressive, a liberal, a Democrat would have nothing to do with the Q bitch because her type of sickness is highly contagious. Very much so. So the Q bitch continues to wander around. She is not given an assignment in Congress. She's not on a committee. In other words, she has nothing, no job in the U.S. House of Representatives, which raises the question, why is she there? Well, she's only there for one reason, because the dumb fucks in the district that she now represents put her there. And I know that district that she represents. It's not too far from the Daniel Scapin studio here in the foothills. It is one of the most uneducated, backward, redneck, fucked up districts in America. And I'm including Mississippi and Alabama and Florida. It's right here in Georgia. And this is the district that the Q bitch supposedly represents. We will know how seriously the dumb shits in her district are taking all this when the election of 2022 comes around. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.